The music world is in mourning as news breaks that Ace Frehley, the legendary guitarist and original Spaceman of Kiss, has died at the age of 74. Fans across generations are stunned, struggling to believe that the man whose riffs helped define an era of rock is gone. According to initial reports from his representatives, Frehley passed away peacefully at his home in New York after what was described as a brief illness. His death marks the end of one of rock's most colorful, controversial, and influential careers, a life that changed the sound and spectacle of modern music forever. Ace Frehley wasn't just a guitarist. He was a force of attitude, rebellion, and raw talent, a man who turned distortion into art and made spacesuits cool long before anyone else dared. Born Paul Daniel Frehley on April 27, 1951, in the Bronx. Ace's journey from a working-class kid to global rock superstar was anything but easy. He grew up in a tough neighborhood surrounded by chaos and street fights, yet found his escape in music. He taught himself guitar by ear, learning riffs from the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, and Led Zeppelin. By the time he reached his late teens, his playing style already stood out. Melodic but aggressive, technical yet full of feel. Those early years shaped his sound, and they also gave him the streetwise confidence that would later define his stage presence. In 1973, when Kiss was forming in New York City, Ace walked into an audition wearing mismatched shoes and carrying an attitude. Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and Peter Criss saw something in him that no one could ignore. When he plugged in his guitar and unleashed his first solo, they knew instantly they had found their lead guitarist. The creation of the Spaceman persona changed everything. Ace's silver makeup, platform boots, and electric presence made him one of the most recognizable figures in rock. But behind the glitter was a player who could deliver unforgettable solos night after night. His tone, sharp, sustained, and full of emotion, was unmistakable. Songs like Shock Me, Cold Gin, Parasite, and Rocket Ride weren't just tracks. They were statements of power and identity. When his guitar literally smoked on stage during performances, fans screamed not just for spectacle, but for the spirit of rebellion that Ace embodied. He wasn't trying to be perfect. He was trying to be real, and that's what made millions love him. Through the 1970s, Kiss became a phenomenon. They were more than a band. They were a cultural movement. Kids painted their faces, parents complained about their lyrics, and critics called them a gimmick. But Frehley's playing silenced everyone. His 1978 solo album, released simultaneously with solo efforts from the other three Kiss members, became the most successful of the four. The hit single New York Groove climbed the charts and became an anthem. Even outside the band, Ace proved he could stand on his own. But fame came with a cost. As the years went on, tensions grew within Kiss. Conflicts over money, creative control, and lifestyle choices pushed the band to its limits. Ace's well-known struggles with alcohol and self-destructive habits began to affect his relationships and performances. By 1982, after the release of The Elder and mounting internal disagreements, Frehley officially left Kiss. His departure marked a painful chapter both for him and for the fans, but it was also a moment of rebirth. Ace went solo, forming the Frehley's Comet project and releasing several albums that proved his talent hadn't faded. Songs like Rock Soldiers and Into the Night showcased his signature sound, catchy, gritty, and full of attitude. Even when he was away from Kiss, his shadow still loomed large over the band's legacy. Fans never stopped calling for his return, and his influence could be heard in countless guitarists who came after him. In the 1990s, when Kiss reunited in full makeup for their massive reunion tour, it was Ace Frehley's reappearance that drew the loudest cheers. The chemistry between him, Gene, Paul, and Peter was undeniable, even after years of conflict. When they took the stage again in 1996, it was as if time had frozen, and rock and roll had returned to its golden age. However, the peace didn't last forever. The same issues that once tore the band apart resurfaced: ego, creative differences, and exhaustion. By the early 2000s, Ace left Kiss again, this time for good. Yet despite his departures, his status as a rock icon only grew. He became a symbol of authenticity in an industry often accused of fakeness. Interviews with younger musicians, from Slash to Dave Grohl, often included praise for Ace. They credited him for inspiring them to pick up a guitar in the first place. Even critics who once dismissed Kiss admitted that Ace's playing was ahead of its time. His solos were not about technical perfection, but about emotion, timing, and personality. Each note told a story. In the years following his final exit from Kiss, Frehley remained active. He released several solo albums, including Anomaly and Space Invader, both of which received strong reviews. He toured around the world, connecting with die-hard fans who never stopped supporting him. In interviews, Ace was candid, funny, and brutally honest about his past struggles. He often said that surviving addiction was his greatest achievement, even more than fame. In one of his last major interviews, he remarked, "I made a lot of mistakes, but I never stopped being me." That line now echoes painfully in the hearts of fans mourning his loss. Ace's openness about recovery and redemption inspired thousands who saw in him not just a rock star, but a human being who fought his demons and won, at least for a while. News of his death spread quickly across social media. Gene Simmons wrote, "We've lost a brother. Ace was one of a kind, a true original who brought magic to every song." Paul Stanley called him a legend and a friend whose riffs will echo forever. Peter Criss, the original Kiss drummer, posted a short but emotional message. "Rest in peace, Space Ace. The stage lights will never shine the same." Tributes also poured in from across the rock world. Musicians from Metallica, Foo Fighters, and Guns N' Roses shared their memories of meeting or being influenced by him. Fans gathered outside venues where Kiss had once performed, lighting candles and blasting "Shock Me" through portable speakers. It was a spontaneous, heartfelt goodbye to a man whose music had soundtracked their lives. For many, Ace Frehley represented freedom. He was the misfit who made it big, the outsider who turned his quirks into power. Unlike many rock stars who polished their image, Ace embraced imperfection. His interviews were full of dry humor, self-deprecation, and honesty that made people love him even more. He never pretended to be anything other than himself. That raw authenticity is what set him apart in an era where image often mattered more than substance. Fans saw themselves in him, the dreamers, the rebels, the kids who didn't fit in. He showed them that being different wasn't a weakness, it was a superpower. His influence extended far beyond his own generation. Bands like Mötley Crüe, Skid Row, and later even The Darkness all cited Ace as an inspiration. Guitarists often copied his stage moves, the smoking guitar, the rocket-launching Les Paul, but they could never duplicate his soul. In a world obsessed with precision, Ace Frehley proved that emotion was what truly mattered. Every solo he played carried both swagger and vulnerability. He was a reminder that rock music wasn't supposed to be perfect. It was supposed to be alive. Even now, listening to his solos from the 1970s, one can still feel that spark, that fearless energy that defined him. As news networks replayed old interviews and concert footage, one theme became clear. Ace Frehley was more than a musician. He was an idea. He embodied the belief that creativity comes from chaos, that you can build something extraordinary out of imperfection. When he walked on stage, dressed like a space traveler, shooting light from his guitar, it wasn't just entertainment, it was a declaration of possibility. He told the world, "You can be weird, loud, and yourself, and people will still love you." And they did. Even in death, that message remains as powerful as ever. Funeral arrangements are expected to be private, with a public memorial being planned by his family and former bandmates. Sources close to the family say that Ace's final wish was simple: to be remembered not just for the fame, but for the joy he brought to people through his music. That wish will certainly come true. Across the world, radio stations are playing his songs on loop, fans are sharing their concert memories online, and Kiss tribute bands are dedicating performances in his honor. For many, it feels like the end of an era, the final chord of a band that changed rock forever. Yet for others, it feels like Ace Frehley will never truly be gone. His riffs, his energy, and his attitude live on in every young guitarist picking up an instrument today. In the end, Ace Frehley's story is not just about fame, excess, or even music. It's about resilience. It's about a kid from the Bronx who refused to give up, who made mistakes but kept going, who found his voice and used it to inspire millions. His life was messy, complicated, and brilliant, just like rock and roll itself. And perhaps that's the best tribute anyone could give him. Because Ace didn't just play rock music, he was rock music. The imperfections, the highs, the lows, the noise, and the beauty, all of it. As fans around the world whisper one last "Goodbye, Spaceman," there's comfort in knowing that Ace Frehley's sound will never fade. It lives in the crackle of an old vinyl record, in the scream of an electric guitar, and in the hearts of everyone who ever believed that music could make you feel invincible. His journey may have ended, but his legacy will echo through every amplifier that dares to turn up the volume and let the world know that the Spaceman has gone home.